Good morning to the lovely Charlotte Clark. Very excited to have you on the podcast. We've actually never met before, so this is going to be a really juicy conversation. The founder of the Happy Human Project, and I'm really excited to hear more, Charlotte. So tell us a bit more, introduce yourself to the listeners.
Founder of Happy Human Project. And we've been running now for, we're coming up to 10 years. Our work mostly focuses around teaching children all about emotional wellbeing, helping them to understand their emotions. And so mostly we're focused in schools, but we also run holiday camps, after school clubs. And then just recently I've graduated as well with a degree in counselling. So
congratulations.
Thank you. It's been a labour of love, as these things are, but it's really cool because it's allowed me to expand the work that I do. And do more of what I really love, which is
learning on the job.
Yes.
Yeah, nice. So this is a bit of a passion project for you, isn't it? Tell us a bit about the background of why you started the Happy Human Project.
You know, at the time, I don't think I realised why I was starting it. I thought it was just something where it was a way for me to help people. That's all I knew. After I finished university, I just knew that I wanted to help people and I didn't know how. And I really fell into it. I discovered the course, initially trained as a relaxed kids coach, which is like a licensing kind of program, and started up from there. But really, I think when I look back now, I think the Happy Human was me. I think it was a project that I was working on for myself, because time and time again, I find the children I'm working with are me. They're children, you know, who are experiencing things that I experienced as a child. And I suppose the work has become, what can I give these children that I wasn't given? How can I support these children in a way that I wasn't supported? And so, like I say, like a labour of love, you know, for the children, but also for the child in me who, you know, didn't get what she needed.
Talk about a bit of purpose and passion knitted together. I mean, I often talk to sort of senior corporate executives about, you know, gravitas and executive presence. And we typically go, okay, well, it's knowledge, passion, purpose. But you had the passion and the purpose, and actually then you've just grown on the knowledge and built your team and built what you do. How hard was it for you then in the early days, because you're fresh out of university, you know, presumably hadn't maybe had some part-time jobs and things before, not kind of done anything else career-wise before? Like, how did you even, what was the kind of first steps? You just did the training and then you were like, okay, well, I'm going to go for it.
Yeah, literally. I look back now and I think there was an element, or a big element, of having absolutely no idea what I was taking on, which meant there wasn't the level of fear that I sometimes feel now, that I understand the market and I understand, you know, the challenges of the work. It was more like, oh, I'll give it a go and
it'll be fine.
Yeah. And I think, you know, over the years, I've since discovered I'm autistic and have ADHD. And I think my brain loves a challenge. And it loves an opportunity to be creative. And the opportunity that I then had enabled me to do those things, but in a way where I was still safe, in that I had, you know, I was lucky to be living, my dad, you know, he wasn't there, but I was living in his flat. So I was, you know, fairly rent free, which was great. I had no huge financial outgoings. And for that first probably year or so, I went from working full-time in a charity to, I spoke to them and I said, do you think I can go down to 4 days? I just want to give this a go and see if I can figure it out. And gave myself some time to do that and see if this thing's actually got legs. And it did. And it grew. And it got to a point where I thought, I'm probably never going to get a time in my life where I'm this young and have no dependents. I have no mortgage. I have an opportunity here to leave my job, throw caution to the wind, and just see if it works. And it did. I mean, there's obviously been huge trials and tribulations, and I'm definitely a person who I just have to give it a go just to see if it's going to work. And then if it doesn't work, then okay, we'll try something else, which has really helped me. But, you know, I've kind of found my way as I've gone along.
I find it fascinating because I watched somebody on another podcast this week that said anybody can be an entrepreneur, anybody can start a business. And I thought, actually, typically speaking, there's two types of person that starts a business. There's the types that will risk it all and just live from like month to month, that have no money. And then there's like you, where you were very privileged and recognized the opportunity you had to it whilst you had somewhere to live and didn't have the mortgage and, you know, the additional responsibility, because it's hard graft, isn't it, running your own business? And so how did you go from one, you've got a team of 4 now, is it?
Yeah.
And was that like an easy decision, or did it just kind of organically grow? Or
It was an easy decision in that fairly early on, I became a victim of my own success and would constantly get to a point of end of term. You know, I don't want to use the term burnout in a way that's kind of not respectful to how severe burnout can be, but really verging on being very unwell. And it kind of, I realized very early on, I can't keep doing this where I'm just saying, yes, opportunities, yes, 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 and not at the same time learning to take care of myself and kind of recognize my capacity. And so I realized quite soon, if I want to keep saying yes to things, there needs to be a way for me to bring other people into this. And I guess at the same time, I also thought, well, I decided that I wanted to pursue the degree because I was finding that with my work, there was only so much depth I could get to with the children because I wasn't trained enough to be working much more deeply with trauma. So the two went together. I started my degree, which was part-time, but I mean, they say part-time, it's never part-time. And so it had to happen. I love a bit of pressure, and under the pressure of I'm starting this degree in September, I needed to find the right people to be able to support me, but to support the business so that I could then do that.
Our brains seek that dopamine hit, don't they? It's like, what's next? I need more. I need to do more. Like I'm constantly trying to talk myself off a ledge of saying yes to something, actually. Because I think we all kind of go, oh, yeah, that looks exciting. That could be rewarding. Go, go, go. And then, wait, I haven't got enough time. Yeah. Okay. And so tell me where you're at now. Like, what's Charlotte doing? So you finished the degree. Huge to do that part-time on top of working and running your own business. Where do you want to take the Happy Human Project? And tell us a bit more about what it does.
Well, interestingly, I'm literally at a point where I'm starting to develop, well, I suppose change the way that we're working. So essentially, schools contract us in to go and work with focus groups of children. And the focus groups could be made up of any kind of children, any kind of child, really. It could be children with additional needs, but often it's children who are struggling with confidence, children who have gone through maybe family breakdown or just having a difficult time. And the sessions are supposed to be much more preventative than reactive. So kind of the bit before therapy, because we're giving children, an understanding of what they're feeling and recognizing it in the body, but also kind of teaching their nervous systems to be able to recognize dysregulation and bring themselves back into a place of regulation. And for the longest time, especially after COVID, my work, well, I suppose my passion was trying to convey the idea to schools that actually this isn't just for children who are shouting the loudest and need the most support. This really should be for every single child, because when we look at the adults around us, you can see.
Gosh. I thought you were going to say it's going to be for every single human, to be honest, because actually I was sitting here thinking, you shared earlier, this actually ended up being about me. And I think a lot of the women and men that I coach, it is the starting point is regulating the nervous system, isn't it?
100%. And we expect a lot of ourselves, we expect a lot of children when they're not regulated.
Yeah.
The brains can't do much more if all they're focused on is, am I safe? Is my body safe? Am I feeling safe? And so for a long time, I'm trying to convey that idea to schools that don't just focus on the children who we know are struggling, because there's going to be children in that class who are seeing, distressing things, or who are dealing with things at home but maybe don't have the words to say what's going on, who could also kind of benefit from that support. But I mean, looking at today, things are starting to change for us because sadly schools don't have money. Schools are really, really struggling with their budgets. And so what I've been doing for the last probably 6 months or so my dissertation for my degree was on embodiment and trauma. So essentially how children process trauma through the body, because we know it's very much a physical thing just as much as it is a mental thing. And as I did that and I interviewed lots of therapists and how they work with children in the room, it became so clear to me that in therapy, we're doing something that teachers are not at all trained to deal with, but are seeing all the time. There are so many children at school who are currently in very difficult situations, have history of trauma, and that's in the classroom. You can't ignore it. It's there, and emotions are contagious. So I think what's happening with schools is there's so much dysregulation. It's like we're all breathing it in, but the teachers, who are there with the best of intentions, aren't trained.
Aren't equipped.
Not at all.
Yeah, it's so funny because yesterday my 5-year-old had a complete meltdown pre-swimming about not being able to have a cheese toastie 10 minutes before. And as soon as he started going off on one, his little mate Reggie went for it as well. And I was like, it's catching! Because it is catching, isn't it? We feed off other people's emotions. Even when we're talking to people, if someone's super negative, you feel like a bit down and like, oh gosh, okay, like I'm not feeling so great after that conversation. So it makes total sense that feeds around with the children too. I hadn't even thought about it in that way. Yeah. And these poor teachers that have like a gazillion other things to do as well, and paperwork and everything else. So you go in and provide support for that then? Do you do like classes and workshops and partner with the school?
We do. Until now, that's been our main piece of work. But from September, I'm going to be rolling out a whole school wellbeing programme, which is much more focused on the teachers learning. So a lot of kind of CPD and training for the teachers, but the teachers learning very simple ways of, first of all, recognizing the dysregulation in the room, but regulating the room and doing it constantly, continuously throughout the week. Because I suppose that's another thing that I've come to the realization of over the years of doing this work is we have a lot of impact with the children that we do work with, but we don't work with every child. And also the children we work with, it's only for 40 minutes a week. And your nervous system is there all the time. It's great that we can help these kids to relax and learn different ways to relax. Often we're then sending them back into a very, very stressful environment, whether that's at home or at school. And for me, I suppose that's where I noticed we need to be doing more as a company in terms of this isn't just a one kind of what come and visit us.
It's not the one child, it's like an ecosystem, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so tell us a few of your tricks and tools then. I'd love to give the listeners something to take away, something tangible that they can do. I obviously love a bit of EFT and breath work, and I also use Lego as well, always great. But what's a couple of your favorite things that you do? Because definitely adults can use them too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say one would be kind of recognizing the state that the child's in and just voicing it for the child. I think often when a child's really angry, we can rush to like, don't throw that, or, you just need to calm down, or just take a deep breath. And usually when anybody is in a state of fight or flight, that part of the brain that understands that language is switched off. And most of the time what humans need in that moment is connection. And connection can come through, a very simple phrase of like, I can see that you're really angry, like that, that really hurt your feelings. And often it's that empathy that connects humans, that can bring that kind of logical and thoughtful side of the brain back online, which is then when we can get the children to take a deep breath or do something that we know that helps them. But I think so often other people's dysregulation, let's say children's dysregulation, does something to us as adults, which puts us into, oh my God, okay, you just need to calm down, or like...
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely guilty of that, yeah. Most of the time I'm really good at noticing and naming it, but there are days when you're just like, because we're dysregulated as well, and we're so overstimulated, aren't we? Like every day. Parenting is hard, man.
Really, really difficult. And I think it's the same as, when I'm thinking of teachers and children, parents and children, it's the same thing. Not only are you trying to manage your nervous system, but you've also got this little nervous system that has never done any of this before. And the two can just set each other off. The other thing that I would say that I think is so often missed is movement. I think maybe we've got social media to blame for it. Very quickly we so often go to just take a deep breath, or just do something that calms you down. But for a lot of children, they need to move first. And I often explain it to the children like they're a bottle of lemonade, and especially at the end of the school day, they've got bubbles inside their bodies.
You need to take the cap off that lemonade, let it out. That's why the rain is really not helping me right now, because I definitely notice it for sure. I mean, he's 5. He's pretty good at noticing his own emotions, but if he's not exercised in the day, but I'm the same,
Yeah.
So if I haven't moved in the day, I'm a bit ratty by the end of the day. And he is exactly, we talked about it yesterday after we got back from swimming. And I said, wasn't that amazing? Because he didn't want to go. And then afterwards he's like, yes, mummy. And I was like, see, now you can have a nice little treat with dinner because you've done your exercise. He was like, well, maybe I'd like to do exercise every day. I was like, what a shock. But it is helping them understand it too, isn't it? And getting them moving, like get them in the park, the local park or whatever.
100%. And, you know, it's not just the endorphins side of things, it's emotions live in the body. Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, often when I go and speak with teachers, we talk a lot about kind of hitting that point in the term where you're poorly, you're not feeling good, like your brain's just not there. And I think so often that's because we're not recognizing when our bodies are at capacity. But it's difficult to do that if we're not regularly checking in with our bodies and noticing that felt good, or, oh, something's not right, something upset me today and I've not really processed it. And we need to process those feelings wherever they are in the body, otherwise they become disease and we become unwell.
So interesting, because I talk about this before the workplace. I'm like, everything that happened before you got to the workplace is impacting how you show up in the workplace, right? That's obviously the same for children. So for someone listening to this, that maybe the school doesn't have the resources or at home is a particularly volatile space at the moment, what's your advice? Is it like get out of the house, go for a walk if you can? Like, what are some really easy ways to kind of help maybe yourself as a parent and the child kind of take it down a notch?
I would start with play.
Okay.
I think play is, you mentioned Lego before, play is very often overlooked because it's just play. What's happening here? It's just play.
Why do you need to play more?
Specifically, if we're thinking about children, that's how children communicate. And if you are able to play with the child, whatever it is they want to play, everything on their terms, it's incredibly regulating for a child. And also, I believe it then can do a lot for building your relationship together. It's something that, I mean, more often than not, because of the children that I'm working with, so the age is usually primary school age in the therapy room. So I'll use play therapy because that is like the number one way for me to be able to communicate with them and for them to be able to communicate with me. And time again, I come out of a session and I'm like, all we did was make a mess with Lego, and then we built something with it, and you know, they showed me something in the sand. But they go home and the feedback I then get is, I don't know what you're doing, but you know, the meltdowns have stopped. And I'm like, well, it's just because they have that undivided attention in a relationship that feels safe, and they have a time dedicated to them where they can do anything they want to do, and I'm their puppet.
And you're their team player. Do you think it's getting worse because we are more distracted, aren't we? We do have more, I think we are more disconnected despite us being more digitally connected than ever. Yeah. We are completely, I mean, I know I'm guilty of this sometimes. If the phone is pinging or even on your watch is pinging and you're not fully present with your child. And I'll admit as well, I'm not a huge fan of play. I don't like playing guns or cars. You know, I can do Lego. And I think it is hard actually for parents at the moment because they have got these other things going on in the background all the time. There's lots of noise, isn't there? Yeah. Do you think it's getting worse because of that? Or do you think it's something that we need to kind of actively try and get away from?
It's definitely getting worse. It's definitely, our lives are being made harder, I think, by technology that is supposedly making our lives easier.
Yeah.
When you look at, you know, specifically for me anyway, when you look at the way that children are struggling, but also families in general struggling, I think screens are a huge issue because they are so naturally so distracting for us, you know, whether it's the watch, the computer, or even children. You know, I was saying this to somebody yesterday, there's a lot about getting children off screens, but you go into a school, they're on a screen.
They watch TV at school, and they've got iPads in school now too.
Like everything is on an electronic screen. And I mean, okay, that's a side note, but it just blows my mind that we're trying to do something by taking them away from screens, and then
it's like sometimes I get annoyed if they've had the school dinners, like if they've done like, you know, one of the ones that's like my treat dinner for the weekend for him, and he comes home and he's like, I've had a burger, and I was like, what? That was my Friday night takeaway.
Exactly that. But
schools. Damn you. Well, I sit on both sides because my mum's a retired teacher and my sister-in-law's a teacher. So I hear it from them as well, I think, in terms of like the volume of stuff that, you know, the boxes they have to tick, the paperwork they have to do, the training they have to go through now is hard.
Yeah.
Certainly not how it used to be. They don't have as much time to focus on the kids because they're just meeting compliance checkbox a lot of the time as well.
Yeah, and this is not teachers' fault. You know,
No.
when I think about the use of screens, also, you know, the ways that they're dealing with behaviour, which, by the way, has, for me, from what I've noticed and from my staff, what we've noticed, has increased hugely within the last few years. Issues that we never used to deal with before in our sessions, especially now we're like, there's been a massive, massive shift. I don't think it's down to teachers. I think it's down to how under-resourced teachers are. Is time as well, in terms of their
lack of funding. Yeah.
Huge lack of funding. And like I mentioned before, the lack of training. We're expecting a lot of teachers when, you know, so many of them go into this because it's a passion and, you know, they really want to support children. I spoke to a head teacher the other day and she said she would say that probably 70% of her staff, the work that they do isn't teaching at all. It's everything else around it, you know, in terms of planning and prepping and dealing with behaviour and a lot of things that they're just not trained to do, but they're having to do. So I definitely think it's a much wider system problem rather than looking at kind of individual teachers. But, you know, going back to your original point about, you know, screen time and what it's doing to us, I do think a part of the issue is everything now is so quick.
Yeah.
You know, we don't
convenient.
have to. Yes, there's so much convenience. And I speak a lot about this in terms of developing resilience with children. We have to struggle. We need to struggle. We need to wait. We need to fail at things.
Bored.
We need to be bored. We do need to be bored. I think modern life is taking all of that away, which is great because, I mean, life becomes so much easier, but it doesn't, because our brains then aren't equipped to be able to wait for things and find things really difficult and be disappointed. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, you need to be able to experience those things, don't you, in order to be able to cope with them.
Yeah.
Charlotte, I think we could definitely put the world to rights if we carried on. So if someone was considering a career doing what you do, it's obviously very rewarding and there's a healthy mix of passion and purpose in there with the Happy Human Project. What would your advice be if you went back and spoke to your younger self or someone coming through that's looking at a career in your space? I
would say you cannot overlook the importance of self-care. And I hate using that word because it's like, self-care, have a bath, but that it's so much more than that. And it's something that even today I still, you know, I think you go into a career, whether it's a therapist, whether it's, you know, something more kind of passion-led, whatever, teaching, you go into it with heart, thinking, I'm going to make a difference, you know, I'm going to work with the kids that I love. And I think very quickly the realities of jobs like that can become exhausting. And if you're not also making time for yourself, your needs, your relationships, or whatever else it is that kind of fills you up, work can become all-consuming, and suddenly the passion that was there isn't there anymore because you just don't have enough kind of fuel to keep going. I think it's
a healthy bit of soul care. I like the terminology soul care rather than self-care is quite nice, I think. And I love a good bath. And if we reframed it and just said that's actually giving myself an hour of peace, you know, it isn't about laying in a bath and turning my skin to prune-like formation. It's about giving yourself time off and rest and resting your brain away from a screen, etc.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's funny, like I say to the kids, like, when we do the relaxation and I'm like, let's talk about how do our bodies feel? They feel relaxed, they feel quiet. And I say to them, you know, you don't just have to lay down and close your eyes and put a blindfold on to relax. Some of you probably feel the most relaxed when you're on the football field, you know, or when you're sitting at the dinner table or you're baking a cake. It doesn't have to just be...
It's the thing that helps your brain switch off, isn't it? Yeah. Wow, Charlotte, what an amazing episode. Tell us what you do to relax.
My dog helps me hugely. She's
doggy walks. Nice.
Camper van we've got, so we get to go away the weekends as well.
Love that. Has it got a name?
No.
It must have a name.
It must have a name. Hey, there we go.
There you go. There's a project for your weekend. We've got to name the camper van team. Thank you so much for your time and being so generous with all your insights into a really fascinating career, because not many people start off at a point of purpose. So thank you for sharing with us, Charlotte.
Thank you.